I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Kristlyn, I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Very nice, very nice. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way really quickly. First, there's Patreon. It's $1 and $3. We still only had the $5 for last month, though.
Unfortunately, we missed out on Krista having to give out art.
But yeah, it's $1, $3, and we may do something else like that this month. We may extend it. I haven't had a chance to talk with you or with Chris about what we want to do, but it's a possibility. Also,
we'll think about something.
Yeah. Buy Me a Coffee is a one-time thing, just a natural one-time donation. If you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with friends.
Share it with family.
Share it with everyone. If you don't enjoy the show, please keep it to yourself. Now, tonight, what are we talking about? Well, tonight we go to Antikythera, Greece, in 1901, where a captain and a bunch of Greek sponge divers discovered a shipwreck of a Roman cargo ship. And on board were all sorts of things, including statues, plates, and a hunk of wood and bronze that no one could identify. This eventually became the greatest treasure to come off the wreck and has become known as the Antikythera Mechanism, also the Antikythera device. Join us tonight as we dig into the likely history of this device and its possible origins in this historical mystery episode of the Family Plot Podcast. But first, let's take a moment for a word from another podcast before we jump into our show.
Ooh, new Octoberpod promos. Let's hear what we've got. Octoberpod AM. Retro horror for bold individualists. Listen bi-weekly wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to Octoberpod Home Video for true, true-ish, and classic tales of horror and the paranormal. New videos each month, only on YouTube. For retro horror of impeccable taste, listen to Octoberpod AM, wherever you get podcasts. You're listening to the smooth sounds of retro horror on Octoberpod AM with your host, Edward October, the best horror narrator in the Podcasts. Stay spooky, mes amis. Wow, that was weird. Tape must have gotten possessed. I hate when that happens. OctoberPodVHS.com.
So, I'm just saying, can we not listen to that when it's close to recording? Because I'm a little afraid that our recordings might also get what did he say that happened to his recording that it was possessed? Yeah.
I'd rather not have our recording get possessed.
Fair enough.
But what I would like to say is I haven't heard.
It was definitely
like
spooky.
that was a little spooky. That was a little spooky. But it sounded really good, and I think I'd give it a try.
I like it as well. So,
alrighty. So tonight we begin off the coast of the Antikythera, Greece. As Dean had said, back in 1901, Captain Captain Dimitrios Kontos and a crew of sponge divers from the Greek island of Symi covered the wreck of a Roman cargo ship around 150 feet down, just off Point Lithadia on the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901, the Royal Hellenic Navy investigated the wreck and began bringing up a lot of stuff in the first expedition. Among the things that were brought up were bronze and gold statues, plates, surfing wear, coins, and so much more. Almost no one worried about the hunk of wood and metal that was found in the cargo hold as well. Taken to the National Museum of Archaeology in Athens, it was left for over 2 years while scientists worked on other things like the statues. It wasn't even treated after it was removed from the seawater, leading to deformations in the device. So they didn't realize that it was actually as important as it ended up being.
Right. We're not even sure why they brought it up, because the initial thing does not look all that interesting. From one side, it just looks like a rock. On the other, you kind of see a big cog, maybe. Yeah, it's... So they didn't know what it was, but they certainly didn't think it was important. But before we go any further, I believe it's time for our Krista.
And her corner.
Yes. Here we go.
Hello.
It's not just any corner, it's Krista's Corner.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the corner.
The new corner. We moved the corner to a
We
new
moved
corner.
it. Dang, the decorations are still good.
Yeah, we gave you a little more room.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, a little more room, a little more squiggly move.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you got going on this week, Krista?
Not much, that's for sure. My preparation, I just have a couple small things to talk about, and we'll be good and back on our way to back on our track. So I have a couple updates. Me and Sam are hitting our 2-month anniversary soon, so I'm so excited for that.
Awesome.
That was claps.
It was
Heck yeah, I got clips. And I did a debate today as Pinkie Pie against Britney Spears. Cheers to my mom for helping me with my hair.
Your hair looks really good.
Thank
Just
you.
looks very good.
Yeah, I feel very Pinky-esque today.
Wait, did you say Pinky-esque?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that started with a P and not a K.
You're so silly.
No. And yeah, I won.
High five.
Yeah, I get to move on. And I get to probably do a debate against someone. Fight a man. Right.
Wait, what?
Nikola Tesla married a pigeon.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Weird, but all right. Yeah, I know. I'm familiar. He's who that car company is named after.
Tesla. Not just that, but I also finished up a project this weekend. I showed both mom and dad.
Yes, you did a good job. I am so proud of you.
And I've also been sort of wrapping this up real quick. I've also been doing more art more often, and I am progressing.
Yay.
Happy about that.
Should be.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Before we end this, I ask, how are we doing? How are we doing today?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I felt. I'm tired. I'm.
Is that all? That's all that's going on in the corner this week?
Yep.
Love it.
Alrighty. Wait. Here we go. Okay. So, now we believe this Roman treasure ship that they found, because that's where we were, as you had discussed them finding this Roman treasure ship,
Correct.
was most likely, excuse me, this ship was most likely on its way to the celebration of Julius Caesar naming himself dictator for life. Thus, we suspect the Antikythera Mechanism was one of many treasures to be brought to Caesar in celebration of this accomplishment. Considering it was on a ship with many treasures, many think it must have been seen as a treasure in its own right.
Even though it didn't look like much, that's probably why they took it off the ship, because...
Well, this ship went down in something like 80 BC.
Yeah, they said 150.
More like 1,000. I mean, this was BC. It was found in 1901 AD.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
AD is.
After death.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
BC before Christ.
I didn't want to sound silly.
But anymore, they don't use it like that. Now they use Common Era and before Common Era.
Yeah.
All right, Krista, you want to tell us a little more about what happened next?
Archaeologist. On May 17th. Oh, I'm stuck in the birthday mindset. It's next month, y'all. I'm scared. On May 17th, can I say that?
Yeah.
Archaeologist Valeria Stais.
Valerius Stais. Yep, that's a good one. Yep.
Nice. Discovered one of. Sorry, I'm a little blind.
You're all right.
Only a little. Have discovered one of the pieces of rock in this lump had here. He suggested that perhaps it was from an astronomical clock, but other scientists felt that it was not of the same time period as the other things Roman cargo holds. The object languished unstudied for the next several years when British science historian and Yale professor Derek J. DeSolla Prince became interested. That sounded basic at first. It turned wow. Became interested in it in 1951. In 19 I forgot you to do that. Anyway, in 1971, Price and Greek nuclear physicist Charalampos.
Good enough. Yep.
Yeah. X-rayed and took gamma ray images of everything in Antikythera?
Antikythera. Yep.
Antijythera. Got it. In the Antikythera device, they discovered 82 fragments. Whoa! Fragments, mostly bronze, cogs, and other machine parts, which was originally kept inside a wooden cabinet. Prince wrote a paper about his findings in 19. Same number. In closer to our day and age. Michael Wright uses radiology to get a clearer, less flat idea of the mechanism, as well as words on the device itself.
Oh.
So let's take a moment for a word from our sponsors.
Hey, babe.
Yeah, babe.
I also feel sponsored.
I feel so sponsored. I think I'll fill the next part of our story.
Alrighty.
So, in talking about the Antikythera Mechanism, most people think that the Antikythera Mechanism is the world's earliest analog computer. Price manages to locate etchings on the gear and even manages to translate some of them. The thing that surprises most people is the gear technology, which is at least 1,300, if not 100 years ahead. The differential gears did not exist in the Hellenic world, or so science believed. Price suggests that by giving a date, the device would show you where the sun or other planets are. In fact, in 2021, a modern version of the device created, and it does work in that way. However, it only works properly on the 35-degree latitude because when it was created around 80 BC, it was believed that the sun revolved around the earth. Many believe that there had to be earlier attempts at similar devices that we have never seen. However, there are many theories about the device itself.
So, one of the theories by David Hatcher Childress, a guy who's a regular on Ancient Aliens, believes that since the device only works at 35 degrees latitude, that it had to be built on Atlantis.
Yep, go ahead.
And that when Atlantis sank, we lost the inventors of this device. However, many think Atlantis is the fictional name of Minos, a city and a culture that was way ahead of their time, had lots of wealth, and sank as part of a volcanic event. In fact, in the, I want to say it's probably the first season of Expedition Unknown, Josh goes to the island of Minos, and because that's where the Minotaur came from.
Right.
I love minotaurs. They're so cute.
Also, thanks for mentioning your man crush.
Man crush!
But that happened way too early for the device to have put on that treasure ship. Eric von Daniken, who wrote the book Chariots of the Gods, believed the Antikythera device was in fact a navigation device for both ships and starships.
Talk about being too early for your time.
Yeah. Well, and see, I have an issue with that one because, again, because it was built with the idea that the Greeks had that the Earth was the center of the solar system, it doesn't work perfectly. It only works at that 35th parallel.
Right.
So how good of a navigation device would it be for your starship when the initial assumptions are wrong?
Yeah.
Still others believe it was part of a time travel device sent from the future back to the past.
That's hot.
Finally, there are those who believe that the device never worked at all. But if so, then why put it on a treasure ship bound for Caesar's coronation?
Fair enough. If that's necessarily where it was bound for, that was just their guess, right?
Well, it's the best guess because it's the one thing that ship was in time frame for. The one event that we know happened that ship would have been on the right time frame to deliver all this stuff.
That we know, but that, that's might sound really small-minded of me, but that seems like a big...
I'm just saying, if you've got a Roman ship stuffed to the gills with treasure, it's got to go someplace pretty important.
Right.
So, it's either got to go to Caesar's coronation, and this is Julius. He's the guy that sort of made the line famous.
Right.
So, it's either got to go there, or it's got to be going to, to give, some sort of peace treaty where they have to give a bunch of stuff to the people they're offering the treaty with. But that's a lot of stuff to give to one people.
A lot of stuff to give to one person, too.
Yeah, but Caesar's a different cat. Caesar's
not a cat.
Well,
Caesar's a human.
Okay. Cat is a 70s phrase, means person. It's sort of slang.
About 70s slang, we're in 2024. Right.
Okay, Chris, I'm 55. I was alive in the 70s. I'm going to say cat if I feel like it.
Wow. Somebody wants to be grounded this weekend.
I mean, what do I do usually on the weekends?
Wow, you're old though, really, Chris. Wow.
Now, but there is so much we just don't know about this device.
Well, that's
Go ahead.
Maybe it's small-minded of me. It just seems like a stretch. It's like, oh my gosh, a boat sank, and it's got a bunch of treasure on it. So it must have been for the Emperor of Rome.
Well, no,
What?
they know when it sailed. They know about the time it sank. So,
do they know where in the ocean this is? Maybe they should go back and look.
I mean, yeah, they have to. It sank. When something sinks, it sinks straight down and it stays there until somebody goes and gets it.
Right, they should go look for more of the evidence.
well, they did find what they thought was another cog, but it turned out not to be a cog. It turned out to be a device that would sit on the front of a piece of furniture. It was a big bull's head, but it was like a silhouette of a bull's head done in gold or bronze or something.
That's weird.
So, yeah, it never fit into the device. They thought it did when they initially found it, but after looking at it and comparing it to the device, they realized that it was going to be like on the back of a couch or, some piece of furniture at the time. I don't even know if couches were a thing then, to be honest with you.
Probably. Anyway.
Maybe a wall hanging, maybe a gong, I don't know. So, yeah, they had found an extra one, they thought, but
they were missing.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's still more stuff down there. They haven't brought it all up.
Right.
Go down, look again.
And so, for 1900 years, this thing sat in the ocean. And they didn't even treat it when they brought it up. And again, why did it get brought up? It didn't look like anything, The coins, the statues, the servingware, the jugs that had, oil and wine and stuff in them. All that looks like something. But if you see the Antikythera Mechanism, if you just do a Google search on the image of it, it doesn't really look like anything except on one side. And it's not the side that would have been up.
Yeah, but it didn't look like part of the boat either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I
get what you're saying, but I think that was probably the diver's thought when they brought it up, that it didn't look like methane, so it must be something.
And that may be true. I kind of thought it was one of those things where they're grabbing something maybe on top of it or maybe just to the left of it or whatever. And so they get that thing, but this moves. and they're like, ooh, this could be a thing. I've already got this thing.
So let's take this thing.
That's, yeah, just...
I feel like it's also partially they saw a shipwreck, they want to see if they can get it going again to see if, like, the basic structures and stuff.
Right. So, but, and that's the other thing, is we know that this device doesn't work based on just the fact that their belief at the time was, well, one, they only believed there was like 5 planets, and then the sun,
Right.
and then
Right.
the Earth. Then there was the Earth, but it all revolves around the Earth. So it only works at the 35th parallel to accurately predict things. As you start to move out, it changes. One of the theories was it came out of Aristotle's workshop. But if it came out of Aristotle's workshop, that's hundreds of miles away from that parallel. Why would he have invented it there? Why would it have ever been there? And some of the other theories, which, look, I like a good crazy theory, like it's from the future, or it was built on Atlantis. Okay, first of all, just try something where I have a little proof. Not much. I don't need much, but a little.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Like, this isn't fantasy. We gotta find out what it actually belongs to, where it came from.
And the thing that makes this so crazy, because we haven't talked about that yet, or the name that I'm probably going to give this episode, is the thing that makes this work is what they call a differential gear. A differential gear is a very special kind of gear. For example, you have one in your car. If you turn the steering wheel, the tires have to turn faster than the steering wheel for you to complete the turn. If it does not, and that's why you have a differential gear. It basically...
It's like a bike.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of like a bike or a 10-speed. It lets the gear move at a speed, like this speed for this device provides that speed for this device. Right?
It's
That
the startup of both.
Right. But that didn't exist, as far as we know, until around the 1300s. And it really didn't come into play until the 1500s. So we're talking this device, which was made around 80, 70 BC, somewhere in there, is between 13 and 1500 years ahead of its time. So if it is a Greek thing, then there have to be prototypes.
Roman.
Well, it was a Roman ship, but it could have very well been a Greek treasure.
Dude, but that goes back to what I was saying about they don't know anything.
Yeah, they don't really know.
They don't know they don't really know which way it was going. They don't really know who was sending it or where it was going. That's the whole thing. That's my whole thing. It's like you don't even really know.
You're right.
About it.
You're right. It's a best guess, but it's all we got.
Right. No, absolutely. That's all I was saying. Like crazy rich people do crazy things all the time, like load up a ship with a dowry for their children. They would load up 3 or 4 ships sometimes to wed one royal to another royal. We don't know.
Yeah.
But then why send the Antikythera device?
Why not?
Which, by the way, the Antikythera device, and in case anybody is wondering, is modern nomenclature. I'm sure they were calling it something else back in the day.
Oh yeah,
It's just different now.
it was probably the boom boom.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, if they were calling it the Antikythera device, I think they would have figured out that ship was going to sink. Because that's where it sank. But like I said, this thing fascinates me because what could it have been used for? What would it have been used for? And like, And it almost had to be created by some independent genius in Crete, because that's on the 35th parallel, and very little else is. So, not every inventor makes it into the book of names, especially from 2,000 years ago.
Fair enough.
So,
well, and I mean, look at how often someone takes credit for someone else's invention or someone else's idea now, when we have all these things to protect people's interests. Can you imagine how much worse it could have been 2,000 years ago?
oh yeah.
I mean, it could have been some completely unknown genius who had this amazing, light years ahead of its time ideas, and it could have been this really incredible machine, and some rich, jerky lord said, oh yeah, no, you can't have that idea, and killed them and took credit for their idea or something totally random. I mean,
Yeah,
we
no,
just don't know. It could have been some crazy old story.
it could be. And there is a Greek planetologist. He was really the first person to name planets, and I forget his name. But they think that he was consulted on building this device. He almost would have had to be. He was alive around the time it would have been built, they think, and he understood the movements of the planets and the stars for them to build this essentially a computational device for planets.
Right.
They just had one big thing wrong, which is where the center of the solar system was. Yeah, that is. But like I said, that's why it wouldn't work outside of that. So to me, then that makes it kind of useless as a time machine. It also makes it kind of useless as a navigation device on your starship. So, sorry, Eric von Daniken and David Hatcher Childress, but those ideas don't cover the facts. I would love for someone to come along and give me a good reason, like, hey, the future, we have records of them shipping this device to the past with several differential gears, so they didn't have to make them. In which case, cool, you just proved time travel exists somehow, and I'm with you on it. But until then, and again, like and that's the other part of this that's just so frustrating. We don't have enough information to suppose. We have the information to make best guess. We've made simulacrums of the device, which is so we know how it works. Or how it would have had to have worked. But there's just still so much we don't know, because it could have been part of a larger device. And we wouldn't know it. And again, to say that it's not impossible that the differential gear was invented and then was lost to time.
Sure.
We have lost a lot of history, like Roman cement. They didn't use the same recipe we use. We don't know what they used to make cement. Also, the Greeks had a death ray. Now, we think that was likely like a mirror that could sort of reflect the sun's rays into a kind of a heat ray, kind of. It's really more of a magnifying glass, holding a giant magnifying glass in the sky, but...
Well, like you do.
Yeah.
To burn the ants.
Right. I'm just saying it's that kind of... But we've lost all sorts of inventions that we know existed because we can see them or see the results of them.
Right.
So, yeah, to say that differential gears could have existed back then, sure, absolutely. Absolutely they could have. but we have no record of it. And it looks really odd being that far out of where we know it to exist. But at the same time, I feel like if we're going to go and say, okay, everybody has to stop talking about the idea of ancient aliens because that's saying these indigenous people didn't have the brain power or the wherewithal to come up with this stuff on their own. So we're crediting aliens because they're too dumb. Which is why we're doing it, and I understand that. I'm all for, okay, let's treat the indigenous peoples like they knew a couple of things. That's good. That's positive. Still, if that's the case, then, you know, why didn't it turn up anywhere else, anywhen else? And yet, why wouldn't they have used that for clocks? They didn't have clocks. They had sundials. That was how they told time. And if they figured out an astronomical clock, which is really just a way to move the universe in 3 spaces so you can see it, then they certainly had the technology to make clocks. Why didn't they?
Maybe it just...
Heck, they had Roman numerals.
They
made Roman.
They had things that worked as quote unquote clocks. Or that worked on quote unquote clocks for them. Why would they need a whole time? If they think of it in our perspective. If we were to find some brand new technology that so could make something that like tells time and stuff like that, sure, we might have the brain to use it, but back then, compared to what they knew, would they have the time where is make a clock? They don't know what that is. They don't even know how to make it. They look at the sundial and go, "Oh yeah, that's the time."
I suppose it's just, I don't know. That's the thing that makes this so interesting for me. It's why I wanted to do the episode, is because it's literally, it all turns on that differential gear. Because if it weren't there, then it's just some cool Greek science stuff, and they had cool Greek science stuff.
Oh yeah,
we know that the Greek and the Romans were definitely amazingly gifted when it came to, figuring out scientific methods and all of the different amazing technologies that they came up with.
Yeah, but they apparently weren't gifted in other areas. I'm just saying, the Greek statues, they've all got tiny junk. I don't know.
That was beautiful back then.
The poor Greeks didn't have nothing to work with. I just felt bad for them.
Really, like it was the smaller that was, the smarter they were. That's what they said. Yeah, that's like actual Roman like logic. The smaller it was, like the more.
Fair enough. Nice. But yeah, so I guess if you're going to pin me to a wall and make me say something about this,
maybe later.
No, that's called a cavedon. We don't.
I would say that I would give the Greeks credit for inventing a differential gear well before we had established it was invented in the modern era, and it's just another lost invention. It's the only thing that covers the facts we have. Now, if we had a different set of facts, or if we absolutely knew some of these things to be true that we're assuming, I might go a different way. But for now,
that's where you are.
Yeah. Although I will say, I still discount the idea that the device never worked at all. Because even if it was the dowry to Big Joe's daughters,
Sure.
Why would he send a thing that didn't work?
Especially a big, heavy, huge expensive thing to ship.
Right.
Why, exactly.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? What you got for us?
I mean, I don't really have much to add on.
If I forget to ask her, she would have things to say. So because I asked, she doesn't. I'm sorry. I should get my mouth shut.
No. I was like, regardless, I didn't really have much else to say. This is pretty like I feel like it's not like self-explanatory, but I feel like we could sort of explain it to the point where I can't really add anything of my own. So like add on to the like.
Yeah. To me, this is just all it does is it excites the imagination. This is one of those episodes that were I listening to it, I would dislike because at the end of it, we're forced to go, that's the best we got. And my brain, when other people do that to me, is like, I need closure. So, yeah. And so I'm sorry for doing that to anybody, but it's the best I've got because we just don't have enough.
What are your thoughts? You tell us. What are your thoughts, though? Because
if you want closure, then you can bring closure on yourself.
Absolutely. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us your ideas on it.
Because when you have an opinion, what you gotta do with that opinion.
So that's
our show.
That's our show. That's the Antikythera mechanism. And device, even. Thank you for listening. Thanks for keeping us in the Good Pod Top 100.
Holy squirrels.
Yep. Thanks to those of you who listened to our last episode, which charted higher than any episode ever has.
Holy squirrels! That was a double holy squirrels.
So, yeah. Awesome there. Oh, before we get to this, there is one thing I wanted to add because I had talked to you both about it, and we won't record it tonight, but
yes, I know.
Our Patreon. We've been looking for a long time for a Patreon show, a good idea for one.
Yeah.
And I think I had one.
I heard it.
Last night, I wanted to know what a sawbuck was. Well, no. I had actually wanted to know a long time ago when I was in college, and because I know, I used it in a description, and Laura asked me about it, so you don't know, because that's the whole episode. But anyway.
The whole episode, but that's like basic. Anyway.
The point being that we are going to start doing Patreon-only episodes just for Patreon subscribers they won't be long episodes necessarily, but they're going to be fun like that. They're going to be us looking into simple things, small things, things we wonder, I wonder about every day. And it may take us 5 minutes, it may take us 10 minutes, but we're going to start recording these special little family outings.
I like it.
Yeah.
Family outing.
Family curiosity.
Yes.
I like it.
I do too.
Oh, that's a good name. That's
a
really good name. I like that a lot.
So, yes. So, we'll start recording them next week because Laura goes back to her normal schedule and we won't be waiting till so late in the evening to record the episode. So look for that at Siege. Oh, thanks to Bill Berendt. His last name is spelled Behrendt. Why am I spelling his last name, do you ask? It'll come to you. See, Bill is the guy who does our theme music, but he is also a musician. So if you need to hire him to make music for an event or to make music for a project, you can hire him for those things. Just reach out to him at billberendt@sbcglobal.net. See, I told you knowing how to spell his name would come in handy.
Very nice.
Also, want to say thanks to Paige Elmore of the Reverie Crime podcast. Now, Paige, in addition to having a kick-butt true crime podcast that you should listen to, she also has an addiction to Canva. But she uses that in conjunction with our own Krista's artwork to create some logo art for us. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
And also thanks to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who continues to promote us locally. Please join our Facebook group. And thanks to those of you who recently have. I love to see you guessing in there when I post pictures. Nobody got the Antikythera Mechanism this week in the Facebook group, but one person did get it on Twitter, although they could not remember the name of it. So, but join us next week as we dig into the Yorkshire Ripper as we cross the pond for a special true crime episode.
Bye.
Bye.